What are defense mechanisms? These are unconscious mental processes used to protect oneself from shame, anxiety, loss of self-esteem, conflict, or undesirable feelings or thoughts. In this video, we explore what driving emotions are behind each type. What is their defense mechanism which leads to certain patterns of behavior, and how each type can find growth. The driving emotion behind type 1s, the good person or perfectionist, is anger. Type 1s use the defense mechanism called reaction formation, which means when they feel one thing, they do or express the opposite to avoid being wrong, making mistakes, or being criticized. This pattern of shutting down on their feelings or their personal needs leaves them feeling resentful. Growth comes to a T1 when they find the value of serenity that comes from being open and accepting themselves and accepting life and things as they are. The driving emotion behind the type 2s, the loving person or giver, is pride. Type 2s use the defense mechanism called repression, which means they avoid their own needs, wants, and desires. This pattern makes them become extremely helpful, being too nice, or using flattery to avoid rejection and to win the approval of others. Growth comes to a type 2 when they find the value of humility that gives them the freedom to give and to receive freely. The driving emotion behind type 3s, or efficient person or achiever, is deceit. Type 3s use the defense mechanism called identification, which means they take on a desired image to avoid failure or disapproval. This pattern of vanity makes them keep up an image or role which causes them to lose who they really are inside. Growth comes to a type 3 when they find the value of honesty that allows them to express their true feelings. Also to be loved and appreciated for who they are and not what they can do. The driving emotion behind type 4s, the original person or romantic, is envy. Type 4s use the defense mechanism called introjection, which is internalizing their own feelings of deficiency to avoid being ordinary or inadequate. This pattern of blaming themselves, feeling unworthy, disappointment, and comparison leads them to feelings of melancholy. Growth comes to a type 4 when they find the value of equanimity, that is finding balance and gratitude for what is present. Also to allow themselves to be loved regardless of any thoughts of deficiencies. The driving emotion behind type 5s, the wise person or observer, is avarice. Now type 5s use the defense mechanism called isolation or detachment, which is their way to avoid feeling incompetent, not knowing, or empty. This pattern of stinginess causes them to withdraw from others, stay in their heads, acquire knowledge, analyze, or overemphasize intellect. Growth comes to a T5 when they find the value of non-attachment that helps them to stay connected with their heart and their body, and to open themselves to be more engaged and experience life fully. Next, we have the driving emotion behind the type 6s, the secure person or loyal skeptic, and that is fear. Type 6s use the defense mechanism called projection, which is putting on others what they cannot accept within themselves to avoid uncertainty or unpredictability. This pattern of doubt leads them to question themselves and others, to justify their feelings of distrust and think about all the things that could go wrong. Growth comes to a type 6 when they find the value of courage, to trust and have faith in themselves, others, and life. The driving emotion behind the type 7s, the joyful person or epicure, is gluttony. Type 7s use the defense mechanism called rationalization or sublimation, which is to reframe negative experiences into positive ones to avoid pain, suffering, or limitations. Now, this pattern of planning for new options or fantasizing about possibilities causes them to live in the future and not be fully present. Now, growth comes to a type 7 when they find the value of sobriety or seriousness that allows them to be present with an open heart and to accept both joy and sorrow as part of life. The driving emotion behind type 8s, the powerful person or protector, is lust. Now, type 8s use the defense mechanism called denial, which is to blank out all their vulnerabilities to avoid weakness or injustice. This pattern of vengeance or vindication makes them forceful, aggressive, controlling, and seeking to impact the world and others. Growth comes to a type 8 when they allow or they find the value of innocence that allows them to be vulnerable and connect to others with tenderness, flexibility, and sensitivity. The driving emotion behind type 9s, the peaceful person or mediator, is sloth. Now, type 9s use the defense mechanism called narcotization, which is numbing themselves in order to avoid conflict or separation. Now, this pattern of indolence, of replacing essential activities or thinking with less important ones and becoming self-forgetting in their concerns with other people's agendas. Growth comes to a type 9 when they find the value of right action that truly supports their life and experience unconditional love for themselves and others. Now, I hope you found these behaviors useful in knowing more about the different Enneagram types. Do check out our other videos on 9 points of view.